Hey,
Oh, we're
it's us
live?
live.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be
Hey.
us live. I think it's supposed to be the other guys live. We were just chilling.
Hey, we're live here with week 2 of the SPL. Happy Friday, Gormizer and Dolson on the desk for all day today. I get to hang out with you all day today, Gormizer. How you feeling? How's this Friday going for you?
I'm feeling great, man. So just to put my frame of reference out there, it's just been very sunny the last few days, and I've been loving it. But I'm more excited for this. I think what we have in store for us right now, specifically when we're looking at a lot of these teams in the league and this first matchup, which is eUnited and Radiance, you get something that I think is going to be a pleasure to see. The sun, it's going to be there for you, no matter what, Dave. You can go out and have a beautiful day any day that's sunny outside. You can only get a set like this once every, I guess, twice a split, since they have to play each other twice in a split.
That's right, and I think you look at all the matches we have today, or 2 really, but all this weekend, 6 matches of SPL over 3 days. But I look at the 2 matches today, eUnited, Radiance. This one, community-wise, I mean, it's not quite as split as maybe we've been here as a caster team. 84% of the community at large voting for Radiance here in this matchup, and I think that's an important thing to look at as well. I think eUnited maybe surprised a lot of people with how strong they looked in week 1. So what are maybe some questions that you look for to be answered today by eUnited? Are they as good maybe as we saw in week 1 is maybe my question that comes to the forefront.
Well, honestly, I think a team being able to beat Radiance, or I should say rival, last week, which is what we got to see out of eUnited, was a little bit bigger. That was a surprise when it came down to it. Not just winning the set, which is something that I think a lot of people would have been able to take a 50-50 on, like, okay, yeah, eUnited have the potential to, but it's rival. But to win it as a 2-0 was really where things, I think, broke apart. That kind of set eUnited much further ahead in my mind than a lot of the other teams. I think SSG is still going to be a team to look at. I was very pleasantly surprised with what we saw at a Sanguine, but I want to see how they're going to be able to tackle some of the top teams that we've seen in the past. But I think eUnited made a statement last week that I personally was not prepared to see. It wasn't something that I thought was going to come out as strong as it was. And so it was impressive to see that, whereas Radiance, it's a big win over the Knights, but I don't know if it was as monumental. That being said, it was definitely a little bit cleaner, which is harder to believe as well.
Well, here are your 6 SPL matches for this week. Renegades rival will round out the day here on Friday. SSG Sanguine kicking off Saturday. United Renegades kicking off Sunday. And just a quick touch before we really dive into this first matchup, Gore. I look at Renegades rival as well, our second matchup today. I think rival, it's going to be weird seeing them at the bottom of the standings, and I think it was surprising to see how good Renegades looked in day 1 as well. I think this is a big game for both of these teams. Bounce back for rival and maybe continue with the strong performance that we saw for the Renegades.
The Renegades gave me a pleasant surprise. They didn't win, which nobody kind of expected them to, up against the lineup that is SSG. But then you look at the fact that, at least in Game 2, they were holding their own pretty solidly and kind of pushing them to the limit. Making SSG work for that win gives me a lot of hope. SSG was one of those teams when they showed up last year that were just kind of able to take the league by storm. And it wasn't enough that they skyrocketed to the top, but they did pretty well considering they had missed a couple of weeks due to some visa issues. And so being able to see them kind of get their limit pushed from a freshly formed Renegades gives me a little more hope for Renegades. I hope they can bring that same kind of performance today, but again, as I was saying earlier with eUnited, rival is a very difficult opponent to tackle. Finding a 2-0 like they did last week was impressive, so I don't know if rival's going to give up a win easily to Renegades.
Well, you look at the first matchup as well. One of the 2 teams, I mean, technically both undefeated through 1 week. United Radiance, 1-3 respectively, fighting to remain undefeated here, and then rival and Renegades looking to get themselves a win on the board. Gore, just kind of a high overhead look. We'll come back from a break here in a little bit and really dive into these matchups. But between eUnited and Radiance, the community, as I said, is 84%, I think, over towards Radiance. Give me a percentage. Give me a quick overhead look at maybe the higher up of this matchup.
In my eyes, this is like 51-49 eUnited. You know what I mean? Right. I think when you look at it, it's so easily going to go either way, that it could infeasibly like be a 2-0 where eUnited or Radiance just swamp the other team out of here. But I feel like we're in, like, if you told me this game or this set was going to be 3 games, all 55 plus minutes or something like that, I'd believe it as well, because they just...
Welcome back, everybody. Still Dolson and Gormizer, and we are still talking matchup number 1, eUnited up against Radiance. And Gore, just prior to the break, we were able to just quickly touch on Scream, and maybe let's pick up our conversation right where we left off, and maybe what you look for out of Scream today in a pretty intense jungle matchup.
Yeah, this is actually one of the ones that I think is almost entirely going to be draft dependent, right? I think a lot of these teams, their composition is going to be important. And when I look at last week, I'm looking at what was very important for a lot of these teams. Thor comes to mind. And that's something, I mean, Adapting has a couple of world championships, whether he's been solid at Thor. So I think Scream, depending on where his focus is in the jungle and what he's able to bring here for eUnited, is going to be the determining factor to help everyone else get ahead. But Snoopy and Eonic and the duo lane, they were holding their own last week. Like, they were looking clean. I don't know if everything depends on Scream, but I think he is an essential part to make this work.
I agree, and I think eUnited, again, everyone in the community, maybe not so much in this specific matchup, but us as casters, we're riding high on eUnited right now. A great performance in week 1, but that's just how we feel. We were able to sit down with Eonic and listen in to some of his thoughts, so we'll jump to an interview and see how they're feeling.
All right, joined now by support for eUnited, Eonic. Eonic, congratulations on a great start to the SPL season. That win against Rival, certainly huge for you guys to get off on the right foot. But it's not like you get any easier competition now to start off week number 2. Radiance looked very solid in week number 1. How important is it for you guys to try and keep that momentum that you got in week 1 going?
I think it's pretty important. I mean, I just think it's an important test to have us against, the best competition in SPL. So I'm happy that we're playing against Radiance this week. They looked really strong week 1. Probably looking like one of the top 3 teams for the SPL right now. So, yeah, it's pretty important.
What stood out to you most about what Radiance did up against PK? Because game 1 obviously was the very exciting base race, but game 2, they were pretty methodical in taking apart the defending world champs.
Yeah, I think what stood out to me the most is just how patient they're able to play the games. And, they weren't quite as messy as our games, not as many kills in the first few minutes. So seems to play more for the late game. They seem to play more cohesive. So, yeah, it's going to be an important test for us.
I mean, is that kind of what you're looking at, the early game? If there's that many kills, does that automatically mean mistakes are happening, or is that you want to play for those slower sort of beginnings that we saw like PK Radiance have?
It wouldn't say it means there's mistakes happening, but we definitely want to play more disciplined and have the games more thought out.
Is it hard when you have double headers like you do this week? I know that we're focusing on Radiance right now, but you have Renegades later on in the week. Is it harder to get that prep in for both teams? Do you try and just focus on one more than the other?
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult, I would say. I mean, double headers this year are a little easier than last year just because we're not playing both games back-to-back, one day after the other. So we do have that extra day of prep in between, but yeah, we're mostly focused on Radiance now, and then we'll get to Renegades later.
Well, good luck at both your games this weekend, Eonic. Support for eUnited. We'll see you soon.
eUnited in action twice this weekend, and that, of course, is eUnited. But let's talk about the fan favorite this weekend, at least in client voting. Radiance, they had a whirlwind, I think, of week 1, and this is a roster, Gore. I think everyone was saying the talent is absolutely there, but are they going to fall into that classic super team pitfall of we have all of these brilliant players, but can we put the pieces together? Did you see those pieces together in week 1?
They definitely showed up, and again, it was a very strong showing up against the Knights, a very clean showing for Radiance. I think all of the pieces were working together. It's just the question of how long that lasts and how well they can continue to mesh. Because I think when it comes down to it, eUnited looked like they clicked just slightly more. It's very difficult to tell when they play against 2 completely different calibers of team, I would argue. So you're going to have to just watch as they unfold in this one. But I think the super team aspect is one that we've seen fail a lot in the past. Radiant so far has started successfully, but I think eUnited is going to kind of push them to the limit.
And I think Radiance as well, you know, big personalities on that team, and maybe none larger than adapting in the jungle for Team Radiance. And yeah, he's got a big role to play up against Scream today as well, a matchup that we definitely looked at. We were able to sit down with adapting a little bit and hear his thoughts prior to this undefeated matchup.
All right, we've got adapting jungler for Radiance joining us today. Adapting, congratulations on a good start in week number 1. You took down the defending world champs. I got to ask about game 1, though, before we move on to your set this week, that incredible base race. What were your comms like? I know that the Knights released a version of theirs. What were you guys talking about? Did you think you had it easy?
I mean, we just called base race, and then like Aror just basically like started like dancing around and going base race, base race, base race, base race. He just like, I don't know. He was so excited.
What's it like playing with Aror? Because he's definitely one of the most excitable players in the league. He's a unique individual and definitely views the game a very different way. How have you liked teaming with him so far?
Oh, it's really nice. It's really fun. It's very different compared to what I'm used to as well. I'd say he's got a completely different playstyle to any support I've played with so far. And, you know, obviously he's like a very aggressive player. But I don't know, it's really fun, and like his personality is really fun to be around. I don't know, he's a very positive guy.
Yeah, I mean, this team that you're on, I mean, obviously so much talent from top to bottom, 5 world championships between the 5 of you. But I know a lot of people worried about the personalities meshing together, the play styles meshing together. But it seems like that hasn't been an issue for you so far. Did it click right away, or did it take some time to get to the point where you are now?
I'd say it's definitely taken a bit of time. I think the fact that we probably had a couple of extra weeks to, you know, gel together has been beneficial to us. Yeah, I think the first week we had a pretty good, like, I felt like everything kind of clicked the first week, and then after that we like started playing worse because we started experimenting like quite quickly. And then everything like fell apart for a short while, and now like everything's come together again. And I feel like we've got a pretty good how we like to play and draft, etc.
Now you've got eUnited this week. They looked pretty good, taking down one of the favorites in the SPL rival in week number 1. Did you expect them to look so good so early? And what have you seen from them that you're preparing for?
Well, we've just been looking at their drafts and like looking at what picks they seem to value and not, and you know, just going over how much we value whatever they've been drafting. But they seem pretty solid. We definitely think that they still make some mistakes that we can maybe capitalize on. So yeah, hoping to have some clean games against them. But they're looking really good, so anything can happen.
Well, Kenneth, good luck today in your matchup against eUnited, and we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Gormazer, this one is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to move into this game and see how this set plays out. And I agree with you. I'm not sure I could tell you which way this one is going to go. So why delay it any longer? Picks and bans. Let's see which way these two teams opt to go. And I'm curious, Gore. There obviously have been some changes moving into this week. I'm wondering how that might shift around the pick ban meta, especially between two teams that seemingly have their playstyles figured out.
Yeah, again, last week we saw a lot of focus that ended up having Thor with some monumental games, but actually there's the person I was going to talk about first. Yamoja, in some of the games, was ignored through the first 6 picks. She got banned in the second phase, and then for a lot of other sets, she was banned within the first one. The question was, how is she, especially with all of the nerfs that she just kind of got smacked with, going to rotate in? And I think the thing to look at with her is the fact that there was a lot of like scaling that got taken down, which is going to make it so that, hey, if you buy a magical item, you're not going to be able to all of a sudden run Mage Yamoja, but they weren't really running it in the SBL. You're looking for her as a tank and for those heals. I'm not surprised to still see her be high priority of get her out of there.
Yeah, me either. And maybe a little surprised to see Hercules in there, but from the limited data that we have on him from week 1, apparently can still do pretty well. But Hu Yi, I think, is one that really jumped to the forefront of that Hunter conversation in week number 1, and already pick and ban phase number 1 here in week 2. And Hu Yi still banned out in that first rotation.
Yeah, kind of out of nowhere too. And I think it does come down to if you're looking at someone who can box really well in a 1v1. Hu Yi has a mark that makes him hit you harder, that can also stun you or have a knock-up applied. Like, it's just, he has so much versatility in his kit, and I think at this level, if you're looking for boxing people out, he is hands down one of the best ones to have.
Well, Merlin and Hoonbats for eUnited's first 2 picks here.
Oh, hey,
And in a mid lane kind of meta that's been shifting and changing, Merlin has kind of remained at the forefront. Hoonbats as well in that jungle, and Jing. I look at eUnited's draft here, and they've got power picks in all 3 of those roles, and they've started themselves off very well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Hoonbats specifically, like, if I just zone in on him, the one that I've seen perform the best, save for that Thor, and Thor was kind of not necessarily a hit or miss, but I feel like he's got a little bit more dependency around his team. Hoonbats can absolutely just roll over you if he gets a good gank going for him, so along with a Jing, along with a Merlin, like you said, 3 easy, strong top picks. Raijin is, like, in my eyes, he's kind of a sleeper. I think he can do a lot, but I'm not sure how well he's going to handle it. It's 2 different styles of mage that are going to be there in the mid lane.
Well, Merlin has been proven time and time again, and Raijin has sometimes proven, sometimes not. It's a big role to play here for BigManTingz, presumably, in that mid lane. And realizing that Radiance haven't picked themselves up a jungler yet, eUnited are going to lock down the Daji and the Kali as well. Bacchus, assuming in that Guardian role, that's a pick we haven't seen yet here in the SPL.
Look, if I am the duo lane, I am mana hungry already. Ullr and Bacchus trying to run me down, like, they are going to be very strong. That is a very powerful and damage dealing lane. But they have a window of like 3 abilities to kill you before they're both hurting to go back and try and get more mana. I think it's going to be difficult. This is something that scales really, really strong into the late game for Radiance, though. I think Raijin hits pretty ludicrously hard as you go into the late game. And the same thing with the Ullr. And Bacchus, I mean, he's been a powerful tank in the past. I want to see what Radiance can do with him.
Well, Gore, talk about first picks here in the SPL. Bacchus on one side, and now Zhong for eUnited. What do you imagine him doing here for eUnited?
Man, it is going to be... I mean, he's a tanking mage, right? So he's bringing damage, he's bringing some control. But I'll be honest, I don't know if I can dive much deeper than that into it. I think he's going to be an interesting solo lane pickup over here against the Jormungandr. I want to know what they're going to be able to accomplish with him, because 4 out of 5 of that team, hands down, is just ridiculously strong. I don't know if it matters that the 5th is Zhong, but I think in the right hands, specifically here for eUnited, they might be able to dial that in and make it look really solid.
I am curious as to how Radiance is going to be able to kind of assert dominance over that eUnited duo lane, because I agree. I mean, Bacchus and Ullr, you combine those two, plenty of lockdown and a lot of burst damage, but the potential with jumping on a Jing is if you yourself in the process and you don't get the kill, she's just got a free route back to lane. So I'm wondering how that dance is going to look, especially if we do start in a traditional duo lane sense, how aggressive maybe Radiance are going to look to be. Yeah,
I feel like the beginning, again, there's a lot of damage that can come out of them in a very short amount of time, but you aren't going to be able to lock down Jing, period. Just It's not going to be easy to do at level 1 or 2 or 3 or till level 20, and even then, maybe not even. Like, you're going to need a wheelish around to try and get that ult. With Athena there, she's even more protected. I think this is just play for the late game and then use that damage that's going to come from that duo lane to just swarm them.
Well, Gore, this could be the matchup of the week. So, without further ado, Graham, Aggro, let's kick off game number 1.
A huge week of week 1 for eUnited and Radiance as they both defeated their opposition, and funny enough, both those oppositions we've just witnessed in the Season 6 finals. eUnited taking down Rival, Radiance taking down Pittsburgh Knights. One of them is going to end up falling here, Ryan. I'm just not sure which.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great matchup. I definitely agree with Dave and Gore for bringing the stakes for this match. This might be the best match of week number 2. And I love the way that both teams have done picks and bans. Radiance going back to a combo that worked very well for them last week, which is setting up for adapting on this Awilix, letting him run the early game. A little bit concerned about Radiance's late game, though. Raijin phenomenal come late game, but everyone else gets a little bit worse. Jorm is good late, but is very susceptible to getting bursted. That's a little bit of a concern. Bacchus is good late, but can sometimes, if you just miss that flop, feel pretty ineffective. I'd love to see Aror go with the blink on this Bacchus to try and find those blink initiations, but having gone for the beads at level 1, worried about this CC chain from Eonic starting it off, or Scream. it's going to be kind of difficult for them to have enough time to fight Relics.
Snoopy gonna get hit by an axe force to beat away and won't get away from CycloneSpin, who'll claim first blood again. By the way, I believe every time I've seen Cyclone play so far, he's got first blood in the games.
Yeah, well, when you're standing up against Bacchus and Ullr that far, you're kind of susceptible to getting first blooded. That's a rookie mistake there by Snoopy. Not only is he just out of position in a lane like this, but then he's late on the relic usage as well, which is going to seal the deal every single time against Bacchus, Ullr. It is going to be one of those lanes that can try and stay alive in better as Jing in comparison to most other hunters, but certainly not the start that eUnited wanted.
I was going to bring up the whole fact of this Bacchus pick as well, because at first they'd already picked up the Jing United, and seeing a Bacchus into a Jing it was like, well, why would you do that? You know, it's not great against Jing but this Awilix pick up after the fact. Hold up for another gank and another death for Snoopy. Cyclone 2 on the board already, and Tingz gets a kill in mid with the assistance of adapting. Radiance are flying 2 minutes in.
Yeah, I was worried about the early game, but we might not have to be worried for too long. I don't know if United's going to get there at this pace. Snoopy's still level 1, so he doesn't have dash, and Cyclone plays it perfectly. What are we scared of? Let's just go on this guy. Let's just jump on him. This is how you should be playing Ullr in this lane, is just go in all the time. If you're not jumping in as Ullr, you're probably doing something wrong. And Cyclone hasn't done a whole lot wrong so far. He's already level 3 and 2-0.
Well, I tell you what, I expect that Transcendence of his ears will be online a little bit quicker than he expected at the beginning of this one. And Aror, meanwhile, is going to continue to give a bit more farm to Cyclone where he can. Purple buff is coming up on this left-hand side as it stands, and that will be stripped away. Remember the early game in Season 7? Experience takeaway in the jungle isn't as potent, but it still makes an impact, right? I mean, you still lose experience from the jungle.
Exactly. You don't get 100% of that experience in gold, but you make sure that the enemy doesn't get 100% of that experience in gold, and that's really what matters. I love the way that Radiance is playing this duo lane right now. No reason to give any sort of respect to Jing.
The best thing about this as well is like Jing likes to go back to base when she gets chipped down and come back with full health, but the problem is she can't even get to the minion wave at the moment. Aurora and Cyclone really keeping the pressure going. However, in goes Cyclone again, axe onto Eonic, flop onto Eonic, belch as well, and Cyclone is on 3 kills on this Ullr at 3 minutes in. Radiance are really starting to put the nail and the hammer down onto eUnited in this duo lane.
I love this because we didn't see a true duo lane all of Season 6. It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Players have had to really duo lane like they used to, and these sorts of lanes were very common back in the day. And back in the day, I don't know that you could really get away with picking a duo lane like Athena Jing because this is what would happen to you. You would just get rammed in the lane by the enemy jumping on you, giving you no respect whatsoever because your first, levels 1 through 3 are all abysmally bad in comparison as far as fight potential and kill potential goes. So why would they give you any respect over here? Snoopy's doing the right thing at this point. You want to hold this wave as close as you can to the tower to try and deny any sort of XP and force Cyclone to overcommit. Scream's going to have to come over here, but at this point, it's to the point where Cyclone can just 2v1 and maybe just kill Scream in the process.
Meanwhile, what you're going to see now is the Eonic's rotating towards mid to give Snoopy a bit more free farm in this lane to catch up. The problem is the Hurriwind's also a little bit behind in mid after his tumble to BigManTingz earlier on. And Big Man going for that penetration build we've seen a little bit more of out of the Raijins at the moment. Obviously, Shoes of the Magi doesn't have penetration on it anymore, but he does have a little bit of lifesteal and some nice, chunky amounts of mana too, to be honest.
And the power is really what Tingz is going for more than anything else. He could go into the lifesteal build, though with him starting Magic Focus, that seems a little bit less likely to me. You usually see Tiny Trinket if that's the build you're going to be going for. I think that the power boots on Raijin makes a lot of sense. The CDR on Raijin is impactful, but you're already getting a little bit because of your Mage's Blessing once that evolves. So you're not lacking too much too much CDR in the build. He can go Spear of Desolation here if he wants to, though maybe with that Zhong sustain and the fact that Hurriwind looks likely to build something magical.
Go all in here, looking for a pick onto Benji in the solo lane. Nice little answer back from eUnited. We saw them grouping on that right-hand side near the blue buff, looking for the invade. Benji was no way near aware of it, and a nice little return kill. Didn't cost him a fair no evil, but I think that's definitely worthwhile to give him some sort of answer.
And Xbalanque, but absolutely, just to get some sort of lane with some pressure And Variety is the type of character on Zhong that he can get far enough ahead that you don't have to worry too much about how far ahead this Ullr is. Zhong can tank it up fairly effectively once he gets his itemization online. I think that the eUnited, after making a couple bad mistakes on the left-hand side, is now doing the right thing, which is that Eonic being over there is not a help in this lane. He's just another kill target. Snoopy just needs solo experience to try and catch up. Snoopy's either going to live or die based on how accurate Cyclone is and where the wave position is. Eonic being there is irrelevant at this point, so let Eonic rotate around. It's going to hurt the rest of the game a little bit, but at least Snoopy can become a player sooner rather than later, and Eonic can try and stay a little bit more safe than he was in that duo lane.
Thought we might see a bit of an engagement around those Ryan Harpies, but with Scream not having his ultimate available, United think better of it for the time being. Speed buff is spawning for Scream, and Eonic's going to be there to try and hit that level 5 marker. You can see Aror is a 2-level lead over him at the moment, and most experience is really on the side of Radiance. But United again, back to the right-hand side, looking at Variety very early. That ultimate just prevents the knockup, which is beautiful, but not that one. As the gravity surge connects, Variety does a good job of stunning them out, however, and it could be Benji under a bit of pressure because Scream's on the way in.
No fear, no evil in time, though. He's going to drop it just to force Aror away from Variety. Really love that play on both sides. I think both teams played that very, very well. Beautiful timing from Benji, knowing exactly how long that recall demons will last. He knocks up Variety up right as that knockup immunity goes away. But then Eonic is right on time with that Athena ultimate. Doesn't waste it by using it too early, but uses it right at the proper time.
I do like United's composition, the fact they're all on comfort picks more than anything else, especially for right in this Zhong, but Cyclone isn't going to let me talk about that. He's getting aggressive yet again, going in, but Hurriwind's there for some damage. Adapting, couldn't find the damage off the back to push Hurriwind away, but the drums of war from BigMan will at least take Eonic. He'll fall down, though, or so I say Cyclone will, as Snoopy at least managed to make a rotation and punish him for that. Bit of a shutdown bonus, I would say, but they do lose the red buff.
They lose red, and that's a great play for BigManTingz, blind over the wall with the Tycho drums, but to get Snoopy a shutdown kill on the CycloneSpin, you're trading a red buff in Eonic's life for that basically every time. And as disastrous as this start was for eUnited, it doesn't feel like they're totally out of it. I mean, the mid lane is down quite a bit. Hurriwind has been under consistent pressure from Tings because of that early gank from adapting. They've lost a couple red buffs. It's been contested a couple times. He's down about a level and a half. But Snoopy has closed that experience gap so far. Net worth, he's still down quite a bit. He's still down about 800.
I was going to say, that's the bigger issue here, is the gold lead that you can see for Cyclone. I mean, that Transcendence is going to be fully stacked relatively soon. Meanwhile, Snoopy has had to go for the boots option earlier on. And that just means that maybe Cyclone can start to pressure even further around the Gold Fury.
But Scream is ahead in XP and gold at this point, so you've got a good win condition building right now if you're eUnited. If you're Radiance, all you have to pay attention to is where this ton Batz is on the map and take fights based on where Scream is not, because as long as Scream's not there, it should be a pretty good opportunity for Radiance, especially if they're fighting anywhere where BigManTingz can leverage this massive lead that he has in the mid lane. Already a Spear of Desolation done. He is very strong right now.
Yeah, United clearly on the back for the moment. Couple of managers just went back to the base, so Eonic just had to hang around in mid and wait for him to turn back up to soak up some of the farm. Golfview not really looked at just yet from Radiance, though. I'm a bit surprised by that. I guess they just don't want to make a mistake and give up a lead. But Variety's rotation here may have just pinched a Raw. It is a Bacchus, but he won't get a chance to flop away for quite a while. Good gravity surge out of adapted to cancel Scream. Jumping on a Raw, the fear no evil after the fact. Doesn't do a whole ton, as the drums of Wolf and BigMan did something, and adapting does take out Scream. BigMan, though, on the run from Variety. No ultimate available for him, however, and no further backup really coming. Eonic is there. Taunt should be up relatively soon with Hurriwind there too. The arcane damage is good. Flames are available, but Eonic's going to fall. However, so does Benji.
Adapting so low, but he manages to survive as well. Meanwhile, Snoopy actually going a little bit more aggressive on this left-hand side. Baits out that axe, but Cyclone still plenty accurate with the combo without the stun. That's the good fight. It looks like for eUnited, but Scream just hesitates with that Fear No Evil. If we're full committing to the Bacchus, we're full committing to the Bacchus, and they need to use that Fear No Evil early to keep that CC chain. But Aror had beads, so maybe he was just trying to bait out the beads and not dump the Fear No Evil. Honestly, I wonder if the damage from the Fear No Evil would have been enough. Because it would have just confirmed a little bit, but then he gets baited a little bit. Adapting stops that jump in. That's the really important part of that gravity surge there, not the damage necessarily, but that it forces Scream to beads and it pulls him down at that moment where he gets latched right away and make sure that Aurora gets down safe.
Credit where it's due with adapting though. That ultimate was amazing. Like
Yep.
if he didn't use the ult on Scream there, that would have been a real disastrous situation because Scream was going to be in the backline with the Fear No Evil available. Really heads up play from adapting to help to try and keep that fight going in favor of Radiance, who are currently 7-3 at 11 minutes in now. You see the builds coming along nicely. It does look like we're going to see Big Man go for a bit more lifesteal as well. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, could be that he's going Pythag's piece, just like Hurriwind is. And I've been kind of surprised the lack of Pythag we've seen in builds so far after being so popular last year and now getting that 10% pen. Feel like it has been a little bit undervalued. And I'm not too surprised to see Hurriwind pick it up, and I think that Tingz might be going for it as well.
Gold Fury started up here. Eonic and Snoopy on the scene first. Snoopy pulled in, forced to beads, and Agility's away. Now Hurriwind and Scream on the scene. Radiant seemed happy with the result of just getting the beads out of Snoopy. Eonic no good at blinking on Aror, get the taunt off too. Follow up from Scream wasn't really there as much as he wanted to, but the Fear No Evil is. He might have to clean this up on his own, or just enough damage from Eonic, but the jukes were too good. Eonic with the reach will secure the kill on Aror. Well, that works out pretty well for eUnited.
Yeah, I mean, BigManTingz doesn't use his ult there. I'm a little bit surprised because that was a pretty heavy commit by eUnited onto Aurora, who bought a ton of time, was able to survive through more than he really felt like he should have.
This Athena's really starting to come up though for Eonic here, forcing the taunts, forcing the engage a little bit more, and he can show you how much damage they can really do with this Merlin Athena combo, and not forgetting the Hombats in the jungle too.
Yeah, I love the way that eUnited's starting to find their groove. Eonic's found really good engagement after really good engagement. Hurriwind has been in the right spots, and look at Variety.
Lazy back, put the taunt away. The fear from BigManTingz there was huge to make sure Variety couldn't get in range. Big Man will survive, but all the while Variety was basically causing a distraction to allow eUnited to take the Gold Fury. Honestly, he should have been Radiance.
Man, Variety has looked like a different man so far this year. He has looked absolutely insane so far in the solo lane. I thought he had a great set up against Rival and a really tough matchup with Final K, and now he's up against Benji, which is no easier by any stretch. And Variety is still looking like a very, very impactful solo laner, regardless of the time in game. Benji has fallen pretty far behind in this lane, and Variety uses his lead perfectly. Keeps teleport up, just walks over, knowing there might be a fight around this Gold Fury, then can teleport back, and all he loses for it is his blue buff. That's not too much, and he's able to leverage that lead very, very well. That's something that eUnited has really excelled with so far, is using Variety as these engaged mages or guardians. He hasn't found the warrior tab yet this year. His picks so far have been Sobek and Baron Samdi. Now is gone for that Zhong Kui. This is the style that Variety loves to play.
Oh, yeah.
You've been paying attention to his career for a long time. You know that he's not just the guy who wants to spam Osiris all the time. He'll be successful spamming the Osiris, but I feel like these are the picks that he'd rather be playing, and he looks really, really good on them.
It's definitely the reason I brought the comfort picks for Variety, because as you said, you know, Baron, Samdi, Sobek, Zhong, these are the ones he loves playing. Look at him now, proxy farming behind a tier 1 tower. Cyclone, meanwhile, on that right-hand side, left-hand side, I should say, did manage to get down that tier 1 tower in the duo lane, so that should open a bit more freedom up for Jing to farm a little bit safer now. She will be a bit further back, and it will allow Radiance to start to invade those red buffs a little bit more often.
Hurriwind needs to find it back, though. I mean, he's level 14 and has it back to finish off the second relic.
Oh, Scream beats early, gets a 3-man Fear No Evil, but nobody's really in the area to support him at all. The Athena didn't really connect where wanted to. And Scream forced back after also using his beads and ult. It's a big win for Radiance there.
Yeah, Roar uses his beads, but overall, I agree that that's a win for Radiance. Adapting tried to find that gravity surge, but Scream was a little bit too far away. This comp just puts so much pressure on your purification beads, though, from Radiance, doesn't it? I mean, Aurora flops you. You've got to try and find an answer to that. And that time it was a pre-beads first Scream, which I think is pretty reasonable. I loved the play that Snoopy had on Gold Fury a little bit ago, where he actually holds his beads and his agility, doesn't use either one, and waits for Adapting to make a choice. As soon as he does, he reacts to the beads and then still gets the longer range agility. But not every character has that option. In fact, only one character has that option, and that's Jing.
Well, there's also the option of, well, with Jormungandr in this solo lane as this game goes on as well. Don't forget that Submerge will allow them to get a knock-up outside of that too. So even if they burn those beads off of Bacchus or off the Awilix, you've still got a Jormungandr that can technically sneak and force that gravity surge again.
And you've got Batz, who's going to want to jump naturally. You've got Jing who knocks herself up to try and keep team fights going or to get away. This Awilix pick has been beautiful so far for Radiance. Not just today, but I think they did it beautifully against PK last week in the Emoja. They're picking this Awilix in really, really smart spots, and I think that a lot of teams, as they get more used to what Radiance is going to play and how they're going to pick and ban, I think they're going to have to be a lot more respectful of how many jumps they're picking or how many knockups they're leaving open, because you know adapting is going to threaten you with this Awilix.
And the best thing about this is Awilix in the early game, sure, she can go off, but if your dual lane's getting kills without needing any help, if your mid lane coming in with the assist for you to make sure you get things going there, things get a lot more comfortable for a jungler when a couple of the lanes are doing well in the early game.
Awilix is a god that really, really cares about her team being ahead more than other junglers. All junglers want that. It allows them to push pace much more easily. Oh, yeah. But Awilix wants you to be running away from her, because then she finds the knockup. And she's faster than you with Suku. She really cares about how you're running at her, where you can't really do that if you're Awilix, because they'll just not get knocked up by Moonlight Charge. You're forced to use your mobility to get away. That feels so much worse on Awilix than it does on basically every other assassin. It's very critical to get early leads when you've got this character, because it forces the enemy team into a no-win situation.
There's a bit of a situation there where they were looking to try and pick off Hurriwind or Scream at that red buff. Did delay Hurriwind getting that red buff, but luckily he did get back in time to pick it up before it was left on the ground. I'm surprised Radiance didn't hang around there. Instead, went mid, knock up on Eonic, pulled in by the gravity surge. Drums a war signal too. Eonic still under pressure. The damage out from Hurriwind, though, does at least force back Aror quite a bit. And Variety blinking in, trying to make something happen. Same could be said for BigManTingz on the other side. Aror is getting very low, but Benji's there in time. And the separation is good enough. The follow-up damage is still there, but Cyclone in the jungle chasing down Snoopy.
Snoopy already had to use the beads. Aegis is perfect, and Benji zoned away by Variety.
Monkey does connect Cyclone on his own now. Does get a good Aegis top to avoid some of this damage. And leap away. The beads Aegis combo came up huge for him as he ate a whole rotation of abilities and standing strong. Benji now rotating in, though. Not really much for him to do. All this, though, is happening about the same time as the Fury's about to come up. Looking at the map, Radiance are in a bit of a better situation for it.
No relics on Scream or Snoopy is huge. No blink for Eonic and no ultimate for him either. Basically every single ultimate down on the United side of the map, whereas Benji still has his, and AdaptTingz is coming up pretty soon, courtesy of that Erendite CDR. Scream's actually spending more time on the right-hand side, trying to wait until his ultimate is up. Knows that he's not particularly effective without Fear No Evil anyways, so he may as well be getting farmed right now.
I do want to talk about Tings as they start this goal for him, because he's currently been a silent assassin in this one. Level 17, 2 levels above Hurriwind. Variety trying to do his best to distract Radiance from doing the Fury. And Radiance end up taking the bait, take him down. And the rest of eUnited can't even get on the scene. Scream does have his ultimate available, but it's not going to be there. He's on the right-hand side, proxy farming, taking away that blue buff in the right-hand lane. Radiance extend their lead a little bit further.
It's the first time that I felt like Variety hasn't been on the same page with this new team. If Scream's on that right-hand side, I think that eUnited's clearly making the call to give up that Fury, and I think that it's an understandable call with their relic situation, how few ultimates they had. Varieties had just come up, but he didn't use it in time to give himself that knockup immunity like he did on the gank on the right-hand side. I think that giving up that Fury and spreading the map and getting far is an acceptable call, despite it being a tough one. But going in and getting decided because you don't have relics is a lot worse of a situation to find yourself in. So Variety, I think, should have just backed up in that moment. But you're right, by the way. Tings has been phenomenal so far this game. 3-0-2, level 18. He's been getting a lot of farm in this mid lane, and I like the build quite a bit. It's a nice mixture of damage and CDR and utility. That Pythag's piece helps the whole team, and it gives you pen at the same time. He's got, what, 30% cooldown reduction between the Mage's Blessing, the Spear of Desolation, and that Pythag's piece. Yeah, I like the build.
I bet Karen's coin on top is that going to be like 20% pen as well, which will help him out in the later stages. Snoopy, though, being rotated on by 3 members. Doesn't have a tower to fall back to, so has to go through the jungle back towards his team. A good call, he's getting some support, but Big Man's drums come through again and take his life. Meanwhile, the rest of the fight, it's also problems there for Variety, who came into that fight to try and get over and help defend. Doesn't work out well for him either. Eonic going to be chased down for a second or two. Scream and Hurriwind, meanwhile, just to push up mid. Scream's in mid, trying to get away. Fear No Evil on 4 targets, 1v4. Not so sure about that. Eonic back in the fray, however, and Hurriwind was on the angle, but they won't be able to find a pick back. Radiance continue this power forward.
Man, that was so close to being a sick play by eUnited, knowing that Cyclone's relics were just about to come up. His beads came up right on time, or else he would have gotten one shot by Scream, Hurriwind, and Eonic. And maybe that puts a little bit of fear in Radiance not having beads on Cyclone, but I think they're just comfortable knowing that now that's 2 less ultimates they have to worry about on this Fire Giant.
Maybe it is. Fire Giant started up 70% health. Scream, the first one in there. Doesn't have his ultimate available, remember, as Aror jumps on in, and he forces the beads out of Scream. Is adapted and lands that gravity surge. Eonic next into the pit, though, looking for a steal away. Reach for the skies. Won't happen today. Radiance get the FG and take Eonic's life. Cyclone 4-1-4.
Radiance is just playing so well right now. I mean, BigManTingz has been under no pressure all game. He's level 20 at 20 minutes, and I don't think he's taking anywhere near enough player damage to be concerned at all so far in this game. Benji zones properly right there, make sure Hurriwind doesn't have a way in. I like Eonic's last-ditch effort because he's going to be up before this siege starts in earnest. He's level 12. You may as well try and take the 5% chance to get in there and steal that away because Radiance doesn't have great secure. But Radiance just play it too well, man. They secure Fire Giant perfectly. They're zoning properly. And that lead that Variety had, that looked like the win condition for United. He's been completely neutralized as of late.
It's really starting to look at the moment that Radiance might be the real deal this year in terms of a composition as a team. We've seen a lot of these supposed super teams form, but very few have ever really come up as well as people expected. This one, though, looking pretty good so far. I mean, we're only 3 games in, sure, but I can start to see that this is really formed nicely.
Oh, agreed. They look phenomenal so far. I mean, they've really taken a good United team and completely snuffed them out so far. I mean, look at where Snoopy's player damage in this game. Not even 3,500.
But look at
22 minutes.
adapting. He's not had to do player damage this game, and he's still 2-0-6 with less than 5k. That's crazy.
His job is to press 4 on whoever Benji or Aror knocks up and pull them in and let BigManTingz and Cyclone deal the damage for you, and they've done that so far. United is now in a really bad spot because they're going to give up this last tier 2 tower. That's going to push this gold lead to 10k for Radiance nearly. And Radiance make the right call. Why force this at this point? We can play this slow and just wait for this Fury respawn, take our fight there. It's a far more advantageous position for us. And if United want to come out and fight us there, cool. If they don't, we'll have Oni waves. I think the Radiance's shot calling has been very good as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the surprising thing, because normally when these sort of teams come together of like multiple people have won world championships, you expect there's going to be some teething problems. There's going to be some issues with who's in charge of shot calling, who's in charge of the power plays. That doesn't seem to be the case so far for this team. They seem to be working as a well-oiled machine. Cyclone going to start up this Oni Fury, which Ryan mentioned moments ago, help to push these waves a little bit further. I'm going to look at eUnited on defense. There's a lot really relying on Hurriwind on these defenses, you know, for the most part in terms of wave clear.
And he has a very important item just finished in that Obsidian Shard. That's critical so that he can really try and punish Benji and or Aror. They group up a little bit too much, but it's going to be difficult.
Benji tanking the tower a little bit as Eonic tries to slow them down on this left-hand Phoenix. Now Snoopy comes back after taking the tier 2 on the right-hand side. These Oni minions are going to take a bit of a while here, but Radiance have got a minion wave with them for a second or two. Variety blinks in, gets a good stun up on Benji. Benji's ult is been forced. That's a big ultimate to force away for the time being. One of their extra escape clauses. But at the same time, Benji still has his teleport up, so it won't be too bad for him to just, you know, limp back to base and go again.
Yeah, but they also used adapting and BigManTingz' ultimate and purification beads on CycloneSpin. Meanwhile, eUnited used very little. 2 ultimates, sure, but Variety had to use Blink, and that's it as far as eUnited relics. So this is the right call, I think, for Radiance. Just back it up. No reason to try and force it. Again, if eUnited want to come out and contest this Fire Giant, be our guest. We're not going to fight you where you're at your strongest, which is on this Phoenix.
Another good point. Variety's still playing very well in this game, even though they're currently at a deficit at the moment. At first, I thought it was kind of like no real hope of a situation of defense there, but he did a grand job of burning as much as he did with just him going in.
You have to respect the Zhong, man. I mean, that Void Stone still makes you do an awful lot of damage. Tanks feel it more now than they used to. Maybe squishies aren't feeling it quite as much, but overall, the effectiveness is still there from this item. You got to respect where Snoopy's at in his build. He's still at 5 items. Hurriwind got that big power spike in the Obsidian Shard. He's pretty far behind in itemization. Very far behind, I should say. Look at this. This might be a little bit of a flashback for BigManTingz.
Just a little. The problem is, look at where the pings are. Radiance have sniffed out the danger already. Adapting's waiting under the tier 1 tower. Auror's going to fall back towards the middle area. Blinking from Eonic catches onto Cyclone. There's no follow-up damage, however. Scream onto Adapting is the trade, and Scream does not enjoy that trade at all. CycloneSpin got involved and threaded the needle perfectly. Snoopy forced to ult away. Adapting still giving chase, gets the knock-up and gets the beads out of Hurriwind. Egg is soon to follow after Aror, and Big Man claims the life with the Thunder Crash. Big Man still going in as Benji continues with the World Serpent on towards mid. And with 2 members dead, the mid and jungle from eUnited, Radiance have opened up a window on this middle Phoenix.
It's up to Variety to play some hero ball here. Good taunt on the Benji. Snoopy putting good damage out. Variety's going to find his way in.
And Snoopy forced back to base there. Variety in with the ghost, but can't find hold of Benji. Looks towards Aror and Cyclone. The damage is good from Variety. He just can't seem to find a killing blow. Radiance can as they take that middle Phoenix down, though. And Snoopy back from base will take out Adapting. Benji falls soon after. The collapse is about to happen from Radiance here, I feel like, as 3 members now fall. They do get a Phoenix. The bad news is, Ryan, the Fire Giant's up, so eUnited could look to steal this.
Yeah, that should be a really good opportunity for eUnited now. I mean, you lose mid-Phoenix, but that's a fairly easy one to defend. Your right side Phoenix is low from that Oni wave, but still fighting. A great fight from Snoopy, Eonic, and Variety. Those 3 really played really big in that moment because Variety does all the damage, just can't quite get those finishing blows. Eonic finds double taunts both times. He's there in the middle of that fight. Again, his ult timing is good. And how clean was Snoopy on that chase there on BigManTingz? Big Man tries to finish off Eonic, but Snoopy was on top of him the whole time.
Fire Giant started up. Aurora and Cyclone in the area. The damage is good to try and strip away with Cyclone there. And don't forget Aurora on its Bacchus. He's going to get focused and all in. Thinner Weave will use 2. Eonic credit with a kill. Cyclone still in the area, though. He may just have to give this one up. He's not going to get range in time. Just took a little bit too long, and Cyclone will disengage. eUnited now with a bit of a chance at a power play, or is this more of an equalization, I should say?
I think it's an equalization with a chance to end. I mean, Radiance has to be very careful here because this is now the moment where it's very easy to feel like you're still way ahead. You still have them right where you want them. You have to respect eUnited's strength at this point in the game, because even though you've been beating them up for 27 minutes, basically, really the last 40 seconds have not gone your way. eUnited's only down 4K. There's a lot of gold on the map for them to take. I think Radiance is trying to set a trap just like eUnited did and hopefully execute it a little bit better. I want to go back to that loop, by the way, from eUnited. That I think it was a really good idea because they're trying to do it because they know CycloneSpin doesn't have beads. And then Eonic blink taunts the Ullr, and Scream is just on a completely different target, diving a tier 1 tower. That just wasn't going to work in that moment. I think that eUnited had the right idea, but I don't know if that was bad communication or if Scream just went a little bit rogue in that moment.
Just too many pieces to the puzzle, wasn't there?
It was a lot.
Being executed at the same time, and eUnited couldn't balance the books well enough. Radiance, though, we're looking at the Primal Fury, but eUnited with the Fire Giant, remember, they've got a bit of a window to take this for themselves. Radiance looks like they may just surrender this one, in all honesty. Against the Fire Giant team, it makes a lot of sense. Primal Fury isn't the be-all and end-all. Cheeky attempt of Cyclone won't be found today.
This should be the evening up for eUnited. I mean, now that they've got more map pressure, Radiance has shown that they aren't going to defend at least some objectives, so this should be a tier 1 in mid pretty easily for Variety and Eonic. This grouping on the left needs to be pretty careful, though. Of course, Eonic can join at any time, but Variety's TP is down, so he can't get here except for one.
Well, Agro, you also mentioned it too, to be honest, the late game for Radiance could be a little bit susceptible, and we're starting to hit that point now, right, where they could start to fall behind if they're not careful.
Interesting. eUnited thinking about a Phoenix. It seems like there's some dissonance on what the call is. This is the stronger call. Maybe they were just waiting to see if Radiance hadn't backed. They weren't respecting a Phoenix push. They could sneak one with Jing, who does a lot of damage at this point. But Radiance is paying attention. They all back in eUnited. Doesn't really lose too much. They lose a little bit of time on their Fire Giant, but they should still be able to get pretty close to even in this game. Radiance looks like they might be willing to defend this tier 2, though.
does look like it at the moment. We'll just see how long they hang around. As we say that, Caster Curse comes in play. Aror just falls back a little bit further. You just want to see how much eUnited are going to commit here. Eonic dashing in and taunts. Pressure on as Aror goes in at the same time. Both supports chips away at the health bar. Benji did get tickled a little bit there too. But he is delaying a little bit of what eUnited can get out of this fire giant, and that seems to be the call. Eonic using the ult to come back from base to make sure he's back with his team. Maybe one attempt on the middle Phoenix hit. Nope, eUnited are going to fall back. The gold, however, is pretty much close to even at this point, thanks to all those towers they just shredded.
Yeah, this game is completely even at this point, and now it's just eUnited, I think, has the better late game composition than Radiance. Can Radiance still find these little skirmishes in the jungle where it's not full 5-on-5s? Can they find the pull in and let BigManTingz and CycloneSpin do that damage? Or now, I mean, you've got a 5-on-5. Let's say you flop onto Eonic and pull him in like you've done a lot this game. What's stopping from Variety from just blinking in and hitting you with the 5-man Zhong? That's where this composition gets a lot harder to execute for Radiance, because they're really designed on pulling one person in, the tank, isolating them, and then pulling them into the team and insta-killing them. The tanks are tankier at this point. Mantle of Discord is there for Eonic. Hurriwind, he's got those tank boots. Spirit Robe makes him very hard to insta-kill off this combo. You've got a pretty tanky Zhong on the other side at this point for Variety. That Ethereal Staff is going to help him out a lot. Don't know how I feel about the double stacking Pythags, but he and Hurriwind are probably in 2 different spots in a team fight at any given time, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, talk to me about the Ethereal Staffs real quick, though, because like we've seen 4 of them in this game. Is it back to being on mid laners again? I mean, it gives you health and power, right? Like,
yeah, it's still good. It's still good, and you kind of need some extra little bit of HP when there's this much damage on both sides, I'd say. Variety and Benji having it is just kind of what you expect out of solo laners. You basically always want this item on them.
Mid laners?
But the mid laners, these are both mid laners with good range that could poke well. I still don't think E-Staff is what you go on, I don't know, side gods that you're trying to all in with. But these are both poke mages in Raijin and in Merlin, and they can get these procs fairly easily without putting themselves out of position.
Well, Fire Giant spawns it again. This will be an enhanced Fire Giant for the first time in this game. 2 Fire Giants down so far, and the Furies are all equal too. Pretty much an equal game outside of Radiance really controlling the first 20 to 25 minutes of this one. eUnited have battled back. And now the dance of the Fire Giant begins. Eonic going to taunt in onto Adaptin. Adaptin's going to walk away. Did use his beads, actually, funny enough. And then straight after that, Adaptin meets Variety in the jungle. Did he TP to that? He did! Variety came out of nowhere, teleported to a ward where Adaptin ran to. Finds a huge pick, but it does cost him a couple of ultimates to do just this. What can they do with this win?
But Graham, that's the whole point of Radiance's composition, is to use Adapting's Awilix. To take him out of the fight is absolutely massive. What a heads-up play by Variety.
But what can they do after the fact? Now is the question. Radiance getting aggressive in this 4v5 scenario. A lot of the ultimates, as we said, have been burnt. Taunt from Eonic does catch Benji. On the backside of the fight, though, it's Hurriwind under pressure. The Aegis will only last for so long. Big Man gets credit for the kill. Eonic has to turn away. Snoopy ults over the wall. Benji giving chases. Big Man gets a double. Benji should still be able to catch this with one more leap and possibly get the kill onto Snoopy here. Luckily enough, the tower's going to be there. So Phoenix is negative to save his life. Eonic, different story. That could just be the game, though.
It could be. Only 2 damage dealers still standing. Snoopy, no Aegis. Scream's ult is coming up. I don't know that they can end. They don't have a wave either. I don't think this is an end call right now.
TP though for Benji.
Maybe.
There's a chance. TP is up for Benji if they go in and get the kill on Snoopy. They do. They could just try to end the game here.
Scream still has that ultimate. They've got to respect that. No respawns for quite some time.
Okay, all on Scream. Scream has his ult. Drops the Fear No Evil, but Cyclone will get the kill. And as Aggro just said, this is going to be game 1. Radiance will take it after a crazy fight around the Fire Giant and Pyro pit. That pick from Variety was great, Aggro, but it still ended up going in Radiance's favor after the fact.
I feel like eUnited just got a little bit caught off guard that Radiance was willing to play so aggressively, knowing that they just lost the keystone of their composition. But credit to that front line. I mean, both Benji and Aror did so much damage. Snoopy just got a little bit too poked out, and Hurriwind got split from the rest of the team. Hurriwind goes right kind of by blue buff, and BigManTingz picks him off. Tingz had a phenomenal game on this Raijin. Really, really impressed by him. That was still, I think, a good performance from eUnited to get themselves back into that game, but Radiance is just too strong, man, and it's really centered around Tingz.
Completely agree. I think eUnited did a very good job battling back, but Radiance got off to a flyer. We're going to go to a quick break. After the break, we're going to come back with game number 2, and we'll see if the picks and bans change anything up.
Dust off your hands, Radiance. Game number 1 is a barn burner, Gormizer. There are 3 kills in this game. 3 minutes in, 2 kills early on for CycloneSpin in that duo lane. But in the zoomed out picture of this one, eUnited would not go away. A big fight under a Phoenix, a Fire Giant delayed this one out, but Radiance ultimately would not be denied.
Yeah, I have in my handy-dandy text editor, I guess, since I'm not writing my notes down right now, I have a bunch of stuff that are like the monumental moments of the game, right? And then at the end, I just wrote, CycloneSpin's just good. I don't know. Like, there's something, like, there's a certain limit on, man, you're making good calls, maybe you're in a good position, but he's 8-1. Like, you can't really argue against that. BigManTingz, I will say, Cyclone maybe kind of took the spotlight from him, but BigManTingz was just as in that with the damage that he was doing throughout the game as well. And I think it's just those two performing incredibly well. Snoopy had a really hot moment. The 3 kills he got helped keep the game in favor of eUnited for a little bit. They lose mid-Phoenix, and he gets a kill that lets them stay in game. Unfortunately, those are the only 3 kills. I think from minute 1, you had aggression from Radiance, and there were clapbacks from eUnited, but never enough to really knock them down and run over them.
And I think that's what we expected, right? I mean, you look at CycloneSpin on the Ullr and Aror, of course, on the Bacchus. That's what we talked about in picks and bans, was the possibility of overwhelming aggression, and that's what we saw. And CycloneSpin got a couple kills off of it. But did you sense a shift maybe towards that middle game where, largely Radiance were in control, the slash lines were with them, there were some ganks into the solo lane that worked out for eUnited, but do you get the vibe that this one maybe went a little longer than it should have, or is that just hats off to eUnited for being a good enough team to draw a game like this out?
There was a moment, and I wrote it down as an overextension from eUnited. They were running between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 in mid, and they were just a little too far forward, and Radiance collapsed in on them. They only get 2 kills in that fight, Radiance do. So they rush down mid. They do get in the middle Phoenix, but that's when Snoopy gets those 3 kills. And whether you want to look at it as, oh, Snoopy went huge and defended the team, or if you want to look at it as, oh, Radiant maybe didn't aggress properly into the Phoenix to try and find the kills, I think they could have ended there. But Snoopy, again, kind of saved the game, kept eUnited alive in it, but it wasn't enough from there. And they needed something bigger, something like that again, to be able to try and take the game back in their favor.
And the casters agreed with you. It was largely an equalizer, not necessarily a scale changer after a big fight like that.
Yeah.
And down the stretch, Radiance were able to grab themselves a win. Quickly as we jump into picks and bans, though, Gore, I will say, though, for eUnited, I loved what I saw out of Variety on that Zhong.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised to think that. Like, granted, he's not going to be able to walk away with a win, but Zhong, like, I don't think I can pin anything about that loss on him, which is the best thing you can have for a god that's not picked up too often. But I don't know if the Jormungandr matchup is something that you're going to be looking at. Maybe there's something eUnited have, but if you maybe have something that could carry more from that role, maybe you see a twist, like just one of the standard warriors, things like Achilles that we've seen do really well in the past. Maybe all of a sudden we're having a little bit of a different conversation because the solo laner could have a little more impact, but he didn't have lack of impact either, if that makes sense. Like, he wasn't the reason they won or a reason to stay in the game, and he wasn't a reason they lost. He just kind of existed in the game space.
Right, he wasn't losing where the rest of the team around him maybe was. I am curious, though, Gormizer, before the next couple of picks roll through, has to be noted, Camazotz made his way through. Thor taking that 6th and final ban spot. Radiance going to take the Thor off the table. So I wonder now where Camazotz gets prioritized. Merlin first overall for eUnited, so they are confident enough in the poke mage in the mid lane that they're going to let Radiance snag up Camazotz.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see it. Again, Camazotz got a small nerf coming into this, but it was not maybe enough to make him disappear, right? I mean, he was banned last game, and I think in this game he's going to be very big with that Yorm. There's a lot to be said, though, about how big of presence he can have. It's just the sustain that is Camazotz is what makes him frustrating, right? His damage numbers are solid. He's going to be able to chase you down. He can win a 1v1. but half of it's not going to be from just outright out damaging you. It's out healing you at the same time. So I think a lot of focus is going to need to be on that. Depending on what Radiance go with alongside him, we might see more precedence on anti-heal from eUnited this game, just to deal with how tanky he'll feel from all of that.
And we're going to get a mid lane matchup run back here. Going to be Hurriwind on that Merlin, BigManTingz on the Raijin for Radiance. And in a game where, of course, we have to give props to CycloneSpin from game 1. BigManTingz mirrors CycloneSpin's KDA at 8-1-6 coming out of game 1. Bacchus locked in as well. Radiance will have to opt for a different hunter this time around as eUnited have banned out the Ullr. But similar vibes, if not almost the exact same vibes here from Radiance in their second game picks and bans.
Yeah, this is a lane that wants to be aggressive, and I anticipate continuing to be aggressive. I mean, Bacchus is in a very solid position. Xbalanque, maybe not quite as aggressive or like at level 1 kill potential as Ullr, but I mean, it's going to hurt. It's still going to hurt. It's still going to be a lot of control. Raijin did really well. No reason to shy away from it. I think Radiance are actually coming in maybe stronger and with more of an incline in the late game because of that Xbalanque than what they had with the Ullr. Osiris on the other side, some anti-heal. Sobek on the other side, some anti-heal. So things to help deal with that. But I don't know, man. This is looking really solid for Radiance. They did it once. I think they can do it again.
Oh, Gormizer Radiance 1 win away from taking the 2-0. Without further ado, we've got game 2.
Look at him rhyming over there. Thanks a lot, Dave and Gore on the desk. Aggro joining me for this one. Aggro, I want to say you mentioned last game, he doesn't always play Osiris, but he can, and here we go. You said it, and now we get it.
Yeah, a little surprised that this Sobek doesn't go over to him, but I do like United continuing to put Eonic on these initiators. Despite his early game struggles last game, I think that Eonic has looked really, really good so far this year on these initiating type gods. Sobek, Athena. I think a lot of United being in that last game was credit to him, but Radiance this time makes sure that this Sobek doesn't go over to Variety. There's a different style that we've seen United play basically all year. They've really kept Variety off of Warriors and on these more team fighting mages. Is Scream going to come over here and camp his lane and get him ahead and just try and snowball this Osiris out of control in the early game? I think that that's something to keep your eye on here if you're Radiance.
Yeah, I think Radiance as well did a good job in the counter-ban phase as well, because they banned away quite a few support picks from Eonic, and I think that's where, you know, that Sobek was a flex pick, but they would have liked it to go to Variety, I think, against that Jormungandr. At least it feels that way, but with the bans towards the Geb and the Ganesha and the likes, it's not a real surprise to me.
Yeah, this is going to be difficult, though, I think, for Radiance in one sense, because this is a different comp than what they've played so far all year as well. Same thing that United is struggling with, but the Radiance draft has really been all year funnel our focus in our farm, in our team fight presence through adapting. And now adapting's on one of the best characters in the game, Camazotz, though that remains to be seen if it's still the case after his nerf on his Screech. But it's not CC, it's not that big control that we've seen him on as of late. Camazotz is just damage, and I know that if you've been watching Adapting play for a long period of time, there was a pretty big window during Energy's struggles, I believe that was Season 5, I want to say, where Adapting was playing an awful lot of Camazotz and not finding a whole lot of success doing it. That's a little bit of a concern for me here for Radiance. How well will they team fight on a different playstyle for their jungler? No CC, it's all damage.
I was going to say, he also got a bit of a nerf Camazotz this patch as well. The bonus balance section came through, and like they did reduce the Screech a bit in terms of damage, but clearly he's still viable, right?
Yes, I think he is definitely viable. And remember, it's not damage up front on that Screech, it's the damage that he gets from catching it. So it does impact him more than I think just a straight up damage decrease on Screech. I think that, you know, you're going to feel it on how hard his ult hits and how hard his 2 hits you after he screeches and catches that. It's a significant nerf for Camazotz, but this character is still going to be strong. I think that maybe this helps him fill more jungle, maybe a little bit less solo because he's getting less free power, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him still in both places consistently.
Well, we tuned into the dual lane for quite a while there because we expected more action than not after how it began last game, but eUnited have just held their own in this laning phase for the time being, up against this Xbalanque and Bacchus. And in the solo lane, as you can see, Osiris versus Jormungandr. It's a real battle of two big bruisers. I'm really surprised how well Benji on a Jormungandr can really hold his own against an Osiris. I expected that to be a little bit trickier than it shows.
I mean, Benji's played this matchup a million times at this point,
True.
I'm sure. This was a very, very popular matchup all last year. I don't think that this is going to be one that he's not lacking experience in.
Close, but not quite. As Aror tries to steal away the purple buff. Notice how Cyclone just held all the experience, by the way, up on this left-hand side of the map to force eUnited to have to come deep for this as well. Not sure if there's really going to be a gank attempt available in time, unfortunately. His red buff is spawning for Radiance. BigManTingz doing it alongside it, but now Adapting is on this rotation, and they're still trying to force him off the experience. Aror getting aggressive on purpose as Adapting is on the way. But one quick screech, and that'll be it for the time being, as he'll take away this Alpha Harpy. Meanwhile, Scream in the mid lane. Level 5 for Scream already, though, so keep an eye on this Serqet making a rotation somewhere.
Wouldn't be surprised to see him head on over to that right-hand side. Serqet's a god that can gank Yorm pretty well because Yorm usually gets out with that ultimate at a very low HP. That last breath, won't care about that too much.
Just position, waiting for the opportunity here, but Benji's been very passive in this lane. Not sure if he recognizes there is some pressure because there's no sign of Scream on the minimap, or it's Variety telegraphing the situation a little bit more so than planned. It won't matter anyway. There's no escape from this combo. The poison will tick away, and Scream's one last basic will proc all that damage and secure eUnited the first blood.
That's exactly what you want to see if you're an eUnited fan. Get Variety ahead on this Osiris, and Hurriwind's managed to stay much more safe this time around, but I think by this point he'd already been ganked and killed by that Awilix in game number 1. Seems a little bit more heads up about what Radiance wants to do here in game 2, staying closer to BigManTingz this time around. A little bit surprised that eUnited went with the exact same strategy of we just want to keep Big Man off of one of his comfort picks in Merlin. It's one of Hurriwind's comfort picks as well, so it's certainly addition by subtraction. But Tingz played so well on this Raijin last game that I wonder if, you know, maybe we don't ban Ullr, we try and first pick that for Snoopy, get him some pressure. Certainly a conversation to be had there for eUnited when BigManTingz is playing this well. Is it even worth trying to take him off one of these gods?
It's true enough. I mean, also, when you look at Radiance's composition, it's pretty much the same comp, except their Haunter and Jungler scale a little bit better into the late game. I mean, I say Awilix doesn't scale well, she does. But at the same time, a Camazotz there is more raw damage to make more of an impact in these fights. And Cyclone on a Xbalanque, that Darkest of Nights, we've seen it be so useful before in the past. Wouldn't surprise me if Radiance, you know, looks to just run this one back for the most part. It's more on eUnited to change it up, and their composition looks to have done that so far.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 3 of the same picks, but the crux of the composition was all around that Awilix, and not having that changes this composition pretty substantially. So
but they still went Bacchus again, which is interesting, right? I thought the Bacchus was really for that Awilix comp. Hold that for Adapting, forced to ult away from Scream. Ult for ult exchange there, and Scream will back away. Adapting will be fine. Don't forget, he can just resustain if he needs to in the jungle. But that ult change will at least slow some of the pressure down for, well, all the ladies, in fact.
Both teams probably fairly happy with that. Adapting doesn't get his get out of jail free card. He's got to respect that damage.
Beads were just forced on Adapting there by Eonic on that nice little rotation, and the tail whip into the pluck was enough to make Adapting take away those beads. Just a little bit worried about the backup of Scream and Hurriwind being in the area. And now it's a 3-on-2 towards the middle area at the moment. I'm just seeing exactly, Aror still just sharing experience with Cyclone for the time being and not rotating towards this 3-man grouping.
Yeah, I think that's one of those plays that I'm talking about, though. That's such a confidence play for Eonic. If he whiffs that pluck, I know that the tail whip basically guarantee sets you up, but if you whiffs that pluck, you die underneath that tier 1 tower, and you lose a lot of that lane pressure. This has been an impressive start, I think, for him, but Radiance has looked just as good, if not better. Radiance through the first 3 games of the season. We haven't seen anyone else play the 3rd game yet, but they look like they might be the best.
Scream tries to catch Adapting. Adapting leaps away. Benji under pressure instead, but will at least go to the World Serpent. That ultimate is going to be forced out there. Scream's ult was still on cooldown at that moment. Variety going back to base. Benji will probably go with him. Eonic's still trying to get this blue buff, though, with Scream's support. It's taken a while, and Adapting and the rest of Radiance is starting to close in.
But Variety's going to teleport in. Hurriwind on the way over as well. There's a full-on
Oh, but the ultimate missing from Aror, as did the flop, and that was just enough of a getaway there for Screammmmm to jump out of the danger zone. Blue buff was stolen, and eUnited got in and got out. And funny enough, they did close the goal gap a little bit, because moments ago it was 500 goal lead for Radiance, even though eUnited got that first blood, which was quite surprising.
Yeah, that invade will do that for you to catch you up, but it speaks to how well Radiance has farmed. They were up that 500 gold despite getting first blooded in the first place. But look at the experience difference. I mean, there's about a level lead on the right side of the map.
Ooh, good pluck from Eonic there, but Aror had the beads again and was forced to use them. The drums out from BigMan will at least make sure Eonic has to use his ult defensively. But Sobek's pretty tanky these days, and a nice chunk of sustain. He's back in the fray. I think Sobek's back in action, boys and girls, that's for sure.
He's been in every game pretty much so far this year. I think that a lot of that is just the buffs were good. I mean, this character just brings a lot to your team composition. I think that a lot of it is just that a lot of SPL players happen to have Sobek in the God pool, but when you look at it and go, well, wait, a lot of them have Sobek in the God pool. Maybe that's not so much of a coincidence, but to see a team like eUnited that has Variety and Eonic both be picking Sobek, that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. These guys have been playing Sobek for years and years. If a team like Radiance starts picking Sobek every game, it's a little bit different. I don't think of Benji as a very good Sobek solo player, but maybe not at one of his calling cards. I don't think Aror is really a Sobek player a whole lot, so that would be kind of a sign for me that Sobek is really, really in a strong spot.
It's definitely an interesting part in the meta now as well, because a lot of the bonus balance came through and changed some of the top picks, so we get to see how the SPL players are adapting to that. Talking about adapting, he gets engaged on by Screammmmm there, but no real panic out of him at all. All was exchanged. Aror going to pluck onto Eonic there, not necessarily the target or the angle he was really after, but Variety now rotating in. That'll at least force Adapting to use his ult after Screammm's ultimate too. But in the duel lane, we've got a man fight between Cyclone and Snoopy. At the moment, Cyclone is not winning that trade. It's Snoopy on the aggression. The back and forth using the horse. Minions come into play. The run is on. Snoopy will secure the kill in the 1v1 in duo lane.
That's a huge difference from game one, isn't it? Where Cyclone is just destroying Snoopy with that Ullr. But this Xbalanque, so good in the team fights, takes a little bit longer to really be that super effective hunter. Needs to stack up his passive, and Cyclone just hasn't been able to do that.
Pressure on Eonic as he's wrapped around and body blocked by Aror, but the tail whip will get him away from danger in time. The pluck after the fact is good, but Adapting's got this kill in the bag. There's no escaping here, surely. Hurriwind can't get him to really stop it. All he could really do is body block, but now the overextension could be punished. Screammmmm will force the beads out of Adapting after blinking in. No ultimate available for Screammmmm, remember, but the raw damage could be good. Leap after the fact to get away, but Adapting will not survive. The poison came up just in time, and Screammmmm will punish them for that long play onto Eonic. However, Variety may be caught out himself now.
He's a pretty tanky Osiris, though, with that passive stacked. Big man doesn't do a whole lot of damage to him. What? I cannot believe that Eonic survived for that long and really pulls Radiance into a horrible spot, makes himself trade out for Adapting in a situation where it looked like it was going to be a pretty free pick. It was a great flop from Aror. He positions himself perfectly to body block. BigManTingz gets in there, keeps that CC chain going very nicely. Radiance played that very cleanly. No one missed anything. This Eonic is way tankier than anybody expected with those reinforced shoes. And then I love the play from Screammmmm. Ultimately misses that Cobra's Kiss, and that's not the first one he's gone 0 for 2 on those 2 shots of, and you got to be wary of that. But I love his patience. Blinks in and just walks at Adapting. Adapting, he has to use the beads, expecting some CC to come right afterwards, as most players would do. But Screammmmm holds it, misses it, but ultimately gets the kill anyways. And he's got a pretty big lead at this point. He's up about a level and a half right now on the Camazotz.
Oh yeah, I mean, that last breath coming up at that right time was perfect for Screammmmm. I think that's why he continued the chase even more, so he realized it was available. And the fact he threw him away was even more intriguing to me, because he tried to even proc that poison onto Aror potentially. As we tune in with Aror now around the Goal Fury. 12 minutes in, and eUnited looking a lot better than game one. Sure, Radiance don't have as much of an early game composition as they did in game number 1, but this is still Radiance after all, and they look so clean the first time round. eUnited have done a good job of answering back here so far.
Yeah, but they don't have a huge lead right now, Hindu. I mean, they're only up like 100 or so gold. XP looks to be in their favor a little bit more. I'm wrong, actually. It's even less in their favor. This game is really, really even right now Though I agree that eUnited feels like they have momentum, it just doesn't reflect in the stats yet.
Yeah. Completely agree. And when you talk about the experience difference, I mean, sure, the graphs show it even, but look at where the leads are. There's a lead for Aror, but then again, there's a lead for Snoopy. I'm pretty sure I'd rather have Snoopy have the lead than your support anyway. So that experience trade-off is relatively marginal. Although Big Man, once again, has a level lead over Hurriwind. He's doing a very good job at keeping up the farm. Gold Fury started up. They are at a ward. Flopping his 3 men, as does the Intoxicate. In goes Adaptive, looking for Snoopy, who gets away. Eonic won't be so lucky. The chase on with the double ultimate coming out from Radiance there, out of Big Man and Adapting, will force eUnited well away for the time being. Gold Fury started up again, but now Radiance are here with all 5 members.
Variety's already teleported in, blinks in as well, forces the reset.
Forces a reset for now, and it's bought time, but it's not much of a reset at all. Variety too late on the ultimate after the fact. Benji now going to deal with 3 on the tail end, has to ult away. Variety, meanwhile, is still dealing with 3 members, chipping down those health bars and giving the chase, but no one's really going to be in backup for him here. Hurriwind and Snoopy are trying to give chase, because they're going to catch Benji, who honestly, I don't think he really used that World Serpent as effectively as he could have to escape. Instead, he went for some more damage, and that'll cost him his life. He won't be too upset, I guess, considering he did get the Fury.
Man, just another bit of a rookie mistake by eUnited. I mean, you just don't group up against a Bacchus. And I don't know, that Darkest of Nights, I think, came out after Aurora had already flopped, so they didn't... I think they could have seen him coming, but either way, you got to know that that's going to be their initiation. There's just really no excuse for getting hit by a 3-man belly flop. You're going to lose a lot of team fights by doing that. And Aurora, I mean, you got to give him props. He plays it perfectly. Doesn't hesitate at all, slams the Intoxicate, but at some point, it's eUnited giving you an opportunity for a 3-man flop, right? I mean, no one corralled them into that area. eUnited just standing too close together.
The key there is a 2-man knockup is understandable around a Gold Fury. It's normally the tank and the carry, right? But a 3-man, someone's out of position there and shouldn't be there. Talking about out of position, Aror was forced out of position for a second by these plucks by Eonic, who's honestly done a good job of landing them so far more than anything else. But no real panic out of Aror there as he just falls back. And I'm really surprised by the rise of Bacchus. I'm just a bit shocked. I've not seen him in a hot minute outside of 1 or 2 compositions. It was really only Neilmar that has really looked for him, and maybe PBM, but I've not seen it on Aror for a minute. It's been a lot of the Herculeses, which no longer, are in the top tier, so to speak, at least in the support role.
Yeah, but it fits his playstyle so well that, it feels like a natural extension of the God Pool here for Aurora. I mean, it lets him play really aggressively. It lets him force carries out of fights all by himself. He doesn't need any help. And that's really the gods that he likes to play, the Horus, the Hercules, these aggressive early game gods that can also be very impactful late game. I think it fits him naturally.
Scream got it all Big Man in mid lane, who has to beads and Thunder Crash away. Aurora now under pressure, poked in by Eonic. Eonic going to take some damage, however, in the tail end, but Aurora takes more. That Intoxicate didn't really do as much as he wanted to, and Snoopy's horse will end his life. Now into the jungle we go with Scream's battling against Benji. Scream doesn't have his ultimate, remember, but he does able to kiss him out of the stealth away. That'll force the ultimate out from Benji defensively yet again, as eUnited extend their lead to 5-2.
Man, Snoopy's had a great game, hasn't he? I mean, he's just been in position basically all the time, except for when they got triple flopped on Gold Fury. He's been really, really accurate. Found the solo kill against CycloneSpin, and right there, nice and patient. Waits until Aurora is dead to rights, and then finishes him off with that cavalry, or with that mounted archery, rather. It's been a good bounce back game for him, because that Jing Wei performance, especially the early game, I'm sure was not sitting well with him.
I think it's one of the reasons why we saw him switch it up to the Hachiman potentially too, just to give him a bit more pressure in the early laning phase and at least be able to farm from distance if required and not be proxied as much. Adapting on this left-hand side at the moment, won't find an opportunity. Currently a level down to that of Scream in the jungle, and Scream's been doing a very good job of continuing that farm. But then again, when you look at the levels of the mid and jungle of each teams, the eUnited definitely sharing more around that middle area. As Snoopy gets aggressive on Cyclone again, but Snoopy's losing that trade pretty handily. Forced to use the Aegis defensively there, as Cyclone just started to hit home with that Blood-Forged execution.
It was a good attempt. He's trying to catch the dash from CycloneSpin, try to stun it out with that EI Jutsu, but then he's just jamming autos into a wave that he can't see because the Darkest of Nights is there, and CycloneSpin gets to just pound on him with those autos really easily. Probably should have been Eonic using Shell in that moment, but I don't know that he has the information about how hard we're winning or losing this trade. Good turn and burn there by CycloneSpin, standing his ground, forces the Aegis from Snoopy.
Still, though, Snoopy doing a good job of staying ahead in levels for the time being. Fury's going to spawn in 44 seconds. Will be the Oni Fury this time, and that can put a bit of pressure towards the Pyro potentially after the fact. But at the same time, you just don't want to give up an inch if you can help it. These Pythags pace in mid lane, though, are definitely back in action again, Ryan. Like, this is the second game in a row now.
Yeah, it's usually how it goes,
Same
right? It's an
cards,
item
though,
that flies
but yeah.
under the radar, and then one person starts building it, and then the enemy team goes, hey man, I wish I had that extra, I wish my mid laner would give me extra power and lifesteal, and you go, okay, I guess I'll start building it then. I mean, it is good. I think it's still a good item. It makes you feel like you're not dealing as much damage early on, but these two mages scale so well into the late game that they aren't too worried about their damage output at this point. I consider both Merlin and Raijin to be very, very potent once they hit that 5-6 item mark. If you're not maximizing yourself at 2-3 items, you'll live.
Bit of a patient game coming on now because this is really balancing on a knife edge still with how it's looking. And as you look towards the later stages of the game, the mid game's starting to kick into gear. If not, we should be there now. We've really been in the laning phase a little bit longer than usual now. The late game's coming. Both teams look pretty good when we get there.
I love the Raijin late game, as I already said. Xbalanque is really, really good whenever you can get to level 20 in a full 6 items. I think that eUnited, I mean, they lose a little bit of power going from Batz to Serqet. I like Batz a lot more in those 5-on-5s, and I think I like Zhong more than I like the Osiris. But overall, I'd say they're about even. I think I'd give the slight edge to Radiance, just based on the fact that they've got this insane damage output in the late game and a good amount of AoE as well, whereas Variety's not going to be able to do quite as much. He's still going to be the control bot. He can still soak a lot of damage, but he won't be putting out nearly as much in comparison.
Yeah, they're going to get pressured by Aror there. Wasn't necessarily the prime target if they could help it, but just wanted to see if they could force something, as this Oni Fury has spawned. Variety's already over here, as is Benji. Meanwhile, Adapting not going to get involved. Instead, he's going to split push this tier 1 tower on the right-hand side and rely on the rest of his members to try and secure this. Jumps a wall from BigManTingz. Over the wall will not be enough to secure it. eUnited get the Fury, and Variety on the tail end could be still under pressure. He will get a nice ultimate away, though, from Benji, too. Connecting with him just slowed him down for a second. So it's the Oni Fury for a tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. Pretty much who's does that go to, I guess? Oh, hang on. Could go the way of eUnited for sure if Scream can find that kill. World Serpent was available for Benji to at least survive for now, just about.
Yeah, he's still out. I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd decision by Adapting and the rest of Radiance to not be on that side of the map. It's not like Adapting didn't have his beads up or his ultimate up or something like that made him extra vulnerable. I think that he was just kind of on that side of the map as it happened to spawn, and I think that eUnited very happy with that.
Is it lack of value in an Oni Fury at that stage? Pyromancer's going to go down to eUnited. Aror plucked away from danger yet again. Still going to give some chase, but talking about giving chase, Snoopy's doing just that to Cyclone. These two just won't stop going at it in this lane. Cyclone does a good job of using the minions to his advantage, but he's still losing this trade, and that is an Oni wave up against him too. But still, Snoopy doesn't want to overextend. He's worried about a rotation coming through, and he's right to do so because Adapting is lurking. Level 17 has all his abilities available. Aegis bought him a bit of time. Haijutsu too. In comes Scream to try and save his life, but Adapting's pre-beads will keep him going for now. But now Adapting needs help, and that rotation won't really pay off. It's Snoopy for Adapting on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Adapting just out of mana, couldn't use that Bat Out of Hell, and he hadn't backed since he was pushing that right side tier 2. So he had a lot of golden hands.
Bit of an aggression again coming out from Variety onto Aror. Aror was forced to use his beads there, and BigManTingz also used his ult to try and help out Peel for Aror. But Variety and the whole of eUnited now lurking towards this middle lane with a minion wave there. This is a tier 1 tower that's opened up for them, even without their AD carry.
Man, again, it's Snoopy, though, pushing the issue on this left-hand side. I mean, he forces Cyclone to use both the relics, still nearly finds that solo kill. And then Adapting rotates over, you still go 1 for 1. You end up getting both of Adapting's relics for only one of Snoopy's. I think that's a good trade for eUnited at this point in the game because they were going to have to wait around a little bit anyways. And keeping Adapting off the map, stopping him from farming, is a pretty good spot to be in if you're eUnited. This Camazotz just hasn't been able to do a whole lot. I think eUnited's been able to do put a lot more pressure onto BigManTingz this game and keep him out of these team fights. Look at his player damage compared to where, was it at this point last game. That's a really good sign for eUnited. But Tingz is only getting stronger. He's not getting weaker on a god like Raijin. So he's still on pop-off alert for sure. But I think eUnited's done a much better job of, whether it's Scream or Variety, getting on top of this Raijin and not letting him free cast.
Yeah, these junglers are just starting to hit their 6th item right about now as well. You can just see them start to be completed as the full builds are now coming through. A little bit of crit coming online for Snoopy now at the tail end here. I wonder if it's going to be that rage which we've seen so much of. At the moment, though, he's looking for this tier 1 tower, but Scream and Adapting both in the area to keep them both in check. That'll force back eUnited for now, but they're still not done yet. This ward placed down, though, will give Radiance a bit of vision in the jungle to make sure they can't rotate in there. Snoopy's still staying stepped up, trying to show that he's not scared, trying to bait Cyclone into taking a fight with Adapting. Clearly, United happy to take one at that moment.
And Snoopy still has his beads. You know that relics were still down for Cyclone and for Adapting, so not a bad idea to try and force it. But with that many people there, not a whole lot of vision aggressively on the left side of the map for eUnited, they can't really afford to stay on that tier 1 tower. I thought Snoopy was going rage last game just because he was Jing away, and it's already so advantageous to you to start building it, but he's still going for the rage this time around, and I wonder if it's because of the Yorm on the other side. Benji picked up a Spectral Armor last game. I'd anticipate he'll do the same here in that 6th item slot, but in comparison to most other solo laners, Yorm is still so much squishier than your average warrior over there would be. That the Spectral, you're still going to be doing a lot of damage, even with that reduced damage that your crit will be doing. I think that might be the reason that we're seeing him build crit in these games.
There is a Thorns there as well, so just keep an eye on that and see if that comes into play at all. Or getting aggressive again. Eonic was trying to flank around the back. He gets pressured away by the boys and actually run down towards the middle tier 1. Benji's still going to give chase, but Variety's now there too. Hurriwind poking from the left-hand side. Halfway up the player damage charts now is that Merlin. Everybody just dancing around here. This is still anyone's game for me right now with the Fury spawning again. Any one-sided battle could definitely swing the tide.
Without a doubt, this game is completely even right now, but eUnited still feel like they're the ones with the momentum.
Using Merlin to burst this down as quick as they can. Radiance can't get in range in time. Yes, they can! The flop of the gods! The fattest god! Aror comes up big! The Chunk Master secures it, and now the fight after the fact is forcing eUnited to run away in tatters. Eonic's health bar is very low, but Variety standing strong on the front line just slows down Radiance's aggression. A huge steal for Radiance there when eUnited looked to have secured that.
Man, Aror just played that so well, plays his timing perfectly. Snoopy doesn't reset on the Gold Fury, because once you reset there, you see this sometimes where a big ability comes in, we step off the Gold Fury instantly, makes it immune, then we just step back on. You can't afford to step back on in that moment if you're Snoopy. Darkest of Nights is coming down, you're about to get intoxicated most likely, though I guess that was down from Aror at that point, but you don't know where the damage is coming from necessarily, you don't know how much damage is coming your way. So Snoopy tries to just 50-50 it, but Aror in the right spot at the right time. Another great play by the Radiance.
I was so busy looking at the Bacchus that I wasn't sure if the Darkest of Nights was already down and Snoopy just didn't see it coming. But Eonic do get the Pyro and immediately engage on the Fire Giant. Benji can definitely see over that wall, and Aror is flanking around the back. Over the wall, flops onto Eonic, doesn't catch Snoopy as he wanted to, and Aror may have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. Scream takes his life. Now it's a 4v5, and eUnited are on the hunt.
And Variety has just kept everybody out so far. eUnited's pulling this fire because they have a huge relic advantage on the carries. No relics for Cyclone, no beats for BigManTingz.
It's only Snoopy.
But Snoopy and Hurriwind are both so healthy right now, and with relics.
Linking from Variety, forcing Cyclone back. BigManTingz crashes away, but gets the drums of war from Variety. He jukes him out nicely, though, so Variety survives for now. Benji going to keep giving the chase where he can. The slow was very impactful onto Benji there. Variety will just about survive. The chase has ended. And the respawn's coming through for Aror soon, and with Variety needing a trip back to the base, the pressure around the Fire Giant is relieved. Tier 2 Tyrant left, however, different story.
Should be going down pretty quickly to a wave of that size, with a wave coming in that might buy enough time for eUnited to get over there and defend it. But this is a great example of how you bend but don't break as Radiance. They're down a member, Aurora was too aggressive, went in, got picked very easily by eUnited. And Radiance are showing enough pressure that eUnited can't just do fire for free, but we kind of want to kill them because we know they're kind of close, but we try and kill them and we really can't. They played that really well.
Scream 1v1 up against adapting Cyclone is there, as is Eonic towards the tail end. Ult for ult exchange again between the two there. However, for Scream did use his blink to try and get that initiation going. Remember the nerfs to blink, boys? We're still seeing 2 in every game, at least for per side. So I guess the range didn't hurt too bad overall. Variety gonna try and do a bit of zone work on the front side. Fire Giant hasn't even started up yet. Snoopy's not there just yet. Scream will pressure out mid. Those minions in as Aurora and the boys with Radiance start to edge closer to the FG pit.
It is worth noting that Tingz has that Soul Reaver at this point in the game. This is where Raijin starts to feel like you can do whatever you want because you're going to do so much damage. I mean, one small combo chunks Variety for a quarter of his health.
Flop in from Aurora, didn't really find Variety's E2. The Intoxicate was way off the mark from Aurora that time round. Benji front line and in the darkest of nights comes into play. A United scatter, 3 left, 2 right. But Radiance don't give that much of a chase. Instead, they're falling back themselves. Aurora's going to be heading back to base, adapting at half health, same as Benji. Could be a little bit risky for them to look to force the Fire Giant this time round. Snoopy also fell back too, but Scream getting aggressive again, catches adapting, and takes away his beads.
So well played there by Scream. He gets in there and gets the beads, but it's worth noting that Radiance has just had better ward coverage all set so far. They have complete control of vision around this Fire Giant, and eUnited do the exact same thing that Radiance had just done to them, bend but don't break, and in a situation where you are on the defensive, they bait out that Xbalanque ultimate perfectly, and a lot of credit for that fight not going Radiance's way is on the mid laner of eUnited. Hurriwind found a huge arcane combo onto adapting. He was just about to blink in. Not only did he put him in combat and keep him from blinking, but he also put him down to about half HP and made that whole fight a lot scarier for adapting to go in. That was huge in keeping that fight even.
You just saw Screams and Seele get popped there by Benji, and a big important one to pop to make sure he can't get towards BigManTingz early on. And earlier on in that engagement too, you saw the Raiju ability, being able to jump between targets, even off the Fire Giant. Got to be careful around those sort of abilities around neutral objectives, because they will bounce the damage off and continue the throw going. Fury spawning, Cyclone's in position to try and burst this one down quick. If eUnited recognize this, he can force a fight at the Fire Giant, but it doesn't look like they do. So Radiance going to find themselves a nice little win here, especially because this is going to help them clear the Fire Giant a little bit quicker and a little bit safer, and especially with that FG now being an enhanced version as we're past the 30-minute mark in the game.
But Cyclone takes too much damage and expends a little bit too much mana, so he's going to have to back. And that should be up to someone like Snoopy, who knows exactly how much that's going to take and how much damage you're going to deal, to know that, to call, hey, he's probably going to have to back at this point. He went Bloodforge, not Devos. He has less sustain. Maybe we can play aggressively anyways.
But he took a long time to back, actually. He went to the tier 2 tower and left, first of all. eUnited into the pit, but only 1 sentry for themselves. Not even dropping it at the moment. Instead, they've initiated the Fire Giant away. Cyclone on the way back from the base. Variety zone best he can. Trying to keep an eye on where Aurora's rotating to. Hurriwind sees that. But look at these wards. You can see Doug just highlight them on the map for you all. Red everywhere. Radiance have got full vision and realize they can just be patient. Wait for the right opportunity.
And that's a problem in these fights. It was the same way last game. I mean, Radiance had a much bigger lead last time, so that kind of explained the ward discrepancy, but I feel like Radiance has just been a little bit better about warding around these fights. Now, this time, look at where United has their wards positioned. A lot on the outskirts of the Fire Giant pit. Little bit to a good amount of vision to the left. They've got good vision on exactly where Aurora and Adapting are standing, but when it comes to the pit itself, Radiance has been able to get in there and get consistent ward vision, and really that's one of the ones that's most important, is just giving Radiance information on how low that Fire Giant is and knowing how much time they have to play with on getting engaged.
Definitely a slower kill game, this one, and honestly, with the start of Season 7 so far, there's been like, what, 10 kills in 30 minutes? The kill threshold's gone down a little bit so far this year.
Feels like it. Maybe it's teams realizing that, you know, we don't need to be fighting early to be able to win the game fairly quickly.
Sure.
I think it's just teams are better now, and they don't fight for no reason. I mean, they're fighting.
Action-wise, I think the action's still been there. You know, there's been good enough action in the game. It's just the lack of deaths is quite surprising.
Well, it's just that we're fighting for a reason. There's always a purpose behind engagements these days, whereas that might not always have been the case. Sometimes, you know, Zapman just saw someone and wanted to kill them because they were in his lane at some point. It's a little bit more of calculated aggression.
Well,
we're going for
red
buff.
Was Snoopy. Snoopy was definitely doing that earlier on in this one so far.
That's true.
Gonna get chipped away a little bit, flopping from Aror off the mark. Just split the difference. Aror being focused so far, but a good beads prevents that pluck. Round the corner, Scream though. The Darkest of Nights has already been used. Eonic going in for good damage, forcing out the Thunder Crash. Scream goes in on Benji instead. It's a commit onto the Jormungandr, and he's gonna fall down dead. Meanwhile, on the backside, Adapting did go in for Snoopy, and will find a huge kill onto him. That Bloodforge proc came up big as well for the shield in tow, and now it's eUnited turning tail. Auror's chasing down Eonic in the jungle, but that pluck should be available to get a bit of a gap again very, very soon. AD carry for solo, though. I'm definitely favoring Radiance there.
Absolutely, because Benji can teleport in once this fight kicks off if necessary, and he respawns. Snoopy was on the run there on the horse, but couldn't get off it in time to use his relics. I think if maybe he gets off and Aegis is right away, then the team can dogpile onto Adapting, knowing he doesn't have that bat out of hell. That goes a little bit better for eUnited. But you're just seeing how impactful these Xbalanque ultimates are from CycloneSpin. I mean, it just throws what should have been a good engagement for eUnited. Aror got caught out. His beads were clutch, you know, making sure that he doesn't get plucked back in. But it still should have been a good fight for eUnited. Their front line had taken all the damage, no damage at all into Hurriwind or Snoopy. And still, it goes Radiance's way because eUnited don't have the info.
Communication so important in Smite. Snoopy has respawned, as is Benji. Benji on the way back to Variety, just teleported in and goes straight towards the Fire Giant pit. Remember, this is an enhanced Fire Giant too. 30% health on that. Variety's health being whittled away by Cyclone, thanks to the Darkest of Nights. Benji trying to deal with Eonic, as Aror eats more than he bargained for there, has to flop away defensively. It's all square still around this Fire Giant, at least for now.
Good damage coming from Tings onto both frontline members. Variety has to ult away, and Radiance not looking too unhealthy at this point. The Aurora is coming back from base, so maybe they have to wait for him, but Variety just backed on the edge of a ward.
Eonic's the only one here, and he doesn't have his ultimate available this time round. Hurriwind, Snoopy from the left-hand side, alongside Scream. And to be fair, Scream's having a fantastic game. 5-0 and 2 so far in this one in 35 minutes. He goes straight on Big Man, and Big Man uses the ultimate. It's going to be a poison exchange there. Big Man's so low, United do get the Fire Giant. I don't even know who stole that, but it does go the way of United. Scream dead, but with Hurriwind, however, Caster Curse comes into play. It's going to get away from the Batz. Benji still chasing Snoopy. Radiance end up finding a really good fight after the fact, but they still lost the Fire Giant, and Adapting took a bit off more than he can chew here. Variety there to help out his support player.
I think that might have been Eonic who got in there. I don't know who else could have gotten it, but he's got to be worried now because Cyclone has found him low in the jungle, but Shell's still up, may have bought him enough space.
And Eonic will get away. Variety, though, with the beat down of the Lord of the Afterlife. Should be able to get hold of Aurora in time. No stun available. Raijin off the mark. Round the back of Eonic is lurking. I'm not sure about this Eonic, but now it's under pressure onto Variety. Snoopy comes up big and takes out Tings. Snoopy gets a double kill. The power of the Fire Giant compels him. 12-6. Oh my, what is this game?
That was nuts. I think it's got to be Eonic who stole that, right? I mean, he was the only one near the pit. Maybe Hurriwind tossed an ability in, but Radiance just kind of get lost in that chaos, and I can't blame them. They decided to take the fight, and this is another composition that does not have great secure really on either side, and it really comes back to bite Radiance there, because imagine that fight where Radiance has Fire Giant sustained instead of Variety and Eonic, where they feel unkillable in these team fights. No anti-heal on the other side besides the Brawler's Beat Stick, so no Divine Ruin there for BigManTingz, and that's not his fault. I wouldn't be building Divine Ruin in this game, just on the case that what if they get Fire Giant, but it ends up mattering in that exact instance. Eonic survives with a sliver of HP, Variety kills 2 people, it just takes forever to kill them, but eventually chops down 2 members of Radiance, and then Snoopy has enough time to go back to base, heal up, and rejoin the fight, and find himself a big double kill, carrying him 2 more rage stacks. He's nearly fully there on that item.
Well, what can eUnited do with this Fire Giant then? Tier 2 town, the left-hand side goes down. Still all the towers available in the solo lane for them to take 2. I'm interested if they do go for an actual Phoenix attempt at some point in this game, at least on this push, because right now it's got a little feeling to me that we might be going very deep in this one with how these team fights have been going.
They've been very close, really both ways,
Yeah.
but again, United has a relic advantage right now. 30 plus seconds on BigManTingz Aegis, no beads for 10. It's gonna be hard to punish him for no beads, but no Aegis is certainly on the table.
Ooh.
And the United, Hurriwind has got all his relics. Snoopy has no Aegis, but has beads. I think they might try for it.
I actually like this attempt so far because they've got an Oni minion wave on the right-hand side that may do the donkey work for them. Variety going to lead in the charge and tank it up. Eonic will be the secondary where required, but the minion wave is dying relatively quick and poke damage out from Radiance. This will be a force fight. Keep an eye on Aror. He'll be the engagement there for Radiance where possible. Same can be said for the Sobek by Eonic. He'll be looking for the plucks if they become available, or even Scream with those blink initiations again. It's going to be a tricky one, though, if they want to siege this up without the other lanes really doing anything right now.
Yeah, it's taken that Oni wave a long time, and I think they actually just lost one of the last Oni minions on that right-hand side. They've got a few wave, and it is a big one, but it's not going to be easy for that to take that Phoenix quickly.
Pluck, I hear that going off, and it's Aror being plucked away from the aggression on towards Snoopy there. Snoopy lost half his health, however, and that'll be okay for the time being. United still have that fire giant for a few more seconds, but the window for a push is starting to fade here. FG wears off in a few seconds' time. A backdoor
15.
attempt on the left-hand side. I don't know about this one. Variety gonna blink in. This is a really forced attempt, but Cyclone the Darkest of Nights, he's chipping away the health bars. The Phoenix is gonna fall down on the left, and Variety may end up losing his life for doing just this. The chase is on from now from Radiance. Sure, they get a Phoenix, but at what cost?
And now Snoopy's cut off, no ultimate for him. Benji's in a perfect spot to keep this fight going.
And now Benji round the back looking at Hurriwind. Hurriwind the primary target. Snoopy soon after. Aegis has been used. Adapting gets the kill on Snoopy. Hurriwind slow to high heaven and abandoned by his support and jungler who just can't help him out. And with a quick flick of the game, that engagement from an eUnited to get a Phoenix is going to cost them one in response for sure. I mean, respawn times are a minute on their carries. This is guaranteed a Phoenix.
Easily. This should easily be a Phoenix for Radiance. Now, can they end off of this? I don't think they're going to be able to get more than one Phoenix.
They did
They
last
might
game.
be able to end. Yeah, I think they can. I mean, Variety's up in 20. They're going to have to deal with him at some point, but how do a Serqet and a Sobek stop you from just going on the Titan here?
Ultimates, and guess what? Neither have an ultimate available right now. Sobek just comes up. Eonic looks to try to take away the carry. Good kisses from Scream to slow them down. But the Titan's falling down quick, Ryan. And it looks like Radiance are going to do this 2-0. There's no chance. I don't think that eUnited can stop this. 2-0 to Radiance on day one.
It looks like that's going to be the case. A beautiful game from them and just a beautiful set overall from Radiance. But a weird call from eUnited to go for that
It really
Phoenix.
was.
I mean, in what world do you ever get away from that Phoenix? Yeah, you get it, but you have to try. I think you have to all in Cyclone in that moment. If he's going to stand in front of you, you have to try and kill him, because if you let him live and just try and escape with that mounted archery being down for Snoopy, Hurriwind is on Merlin. He's not a particularly mobile mage. It's just an odd call to try and go for that Phoenix. It really ends what looked like a good game for United.
I agree. They kind of knew that they were going to lose lives for that, but they just didn't weigh up the options as well. They didn't realize they were going to lose as much. 2-0 to Radiance then. But that's it from me and Ryan. Let's get it back over to the desk.
And just like that, Radiance moved themselves to 2-0 in the SPL. And Gormizer, this is a game that I would say largely felt the same as game one, with maybe one team finding some early aggression in the long lane. This time it was eUnited. But the result is the same, where Radiance pull it out at the end. And Gore, I'm not sure we need to look anywhere else other than that Phoenix attempt on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of moments where you can see like Radiance fighting back incredibly strong, and like moments like that last Fire Giant engagement, eUnited managed to steal it away, but they have a fight in favor of Radiance for a little bit, and then immediately the Fire Giant buff being on the side of eUnited starts to play into it, and they push back. And it's just those moments where it's like, man, if a small thing had been different there, like Radiance get the Fire Giant, maybe they end it a little faster. But then just biting off maybe a little more than you can chew, going too deep, maybe going too hard for it there at the very end, ends up just costing them so much. I think it was really well played. I think more than anything by Benji to get as aggressive as he did, because he just belted down the lane after that Phoenix went down to stop anyone and everyone on eUnited from being able to run away.
And you look at Radiance, I mean, of their 11 kills, 10 of them split between Adapting and CycloneSpin, with, of course, 7 on Adapting. But I think CycloneSpin on the Xbalanque down the stretch there really came online. I mean, top damage in this game, and that's despite the early kind of solo kills we saw in that long lane. CycloneSpin and the rest of Radiance were able to delay this game and kind of draw things out. There was like a 5-minute dance around the Fire Giant where neither team really fully engaged. But it seemed like it was just going to be a matter of time before CycloneSpin really turned this one around. And that left side Phoenix defense from him, he was effectively alone, right, against 4 members of eUnited. And he output so much damage. But Adapting as well, who you see on your screen now, we'd be remiss if we don't mention him. He got 7 of the 11 kills in this one.
And you know what, Dave? It turns out Camazotz is still pretty good. And you take away some of his damage,
right.
It doesn't take away the sustain. There were a lot of moments, even right here, where it's just like, okay, Adapting is getting melted down, but look how long that took, right, for a Serqet. It shouldn't take that long in instances like that. And that amount of sustain kept Adapting alive and pushing forward throughout a lot of these fights, got him into a good position. And then, as you pointed out, CycloneSpin, I mean, I can't think of anyone who rides a late game curve better than Xbalanque in terms of hunters, just because as time goes on with his passive, he gets a little bit more, he just gets stronger with the game. You get a crit if you want it, you get pin if you want it, doesn't really matter. You just start melting and piercing through everybody that stands in your way. And I think a lot of the damage towards the very end there was, well, kind of notable from CycloneSpin.
And just like that, as I mentioned, Radiance moved themselves to 2-0 win-loss in the SPL, but 4-0 if you look at games. They haven't dropped a single game yet. I mean, I think eUnited still look like one of the strong teams here in this league. Radiance, though, it might be in that conversation for the top team here, Gormizer, and a big win here for Radiance, and maybe what could be, or what we thought might be, the closest matchup of the week. I'm sure Radiance are feeling good, but don't take my word for it. We got an interview standing by.
I'm joined now by the Chunk Master himself, the Bacchus player of players. Fantastic goal Fury steal, by the way, I just want to say, in that second game. Aror, talk to me about game 1 first of all. You guys, like, the chemistry seems to be there already, which I just wasn't expecting. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, I feel like we're meshing pretty well together. I feel like there's like a lot of things that we can do that can improve like just our like team play, but individually and like the little skirmishes around the map, I feel like we play it really well together. We just have to figure out like how to do like the whole team objective more than just like the individual and skirmish plays. But yeah, I feel like other than that, inside a game, we've been meshing really well.
How do you feel to be back in lane with Cyclone again? You know, with the last couple of seasons of the support being everywhere and nowhere, does it feel nice to have a little bit more of a dual lane for a while?
Yeah, I like dual lane. Invading's fun, but it gets boring if you do it for a whole year. So
you want to play Hercules to do it, right?
I'm happy that dual lane's back. It's actually a lot of fun.
Tell me a little bit more about game 2 then, because honestly, from the point of view of the fans and the casters, obviously, eUnited were in a power play situation there. Did you feel very fortunate you had that opportunity to get back in the way you did, or was that a sort of call you would have expected?
Yeah, I feel like we made a lot of mistakes that game, and eUnited capitalized on them very well. Like, they played extremely well this set, and every mistake we made, they capitalized on it. But for that last engagement on the Phoenix, they had a couple people with enhanced Fire Giants, so they thought they could backdoor it, but Cyclone was in a good position to just start hitting them as soon as they walked in, and then the fight just came to be really easy after that, because I think Variety almost died like instantly, and then Screammmmm got really low as well, so he had to back out, and it was just a chase down. But it was an interesting call from them. I think once they saw Cyclone, they should have maybe rethought it, but they went for it, and we took advantage of their play.
Well, great victory today, honestly. Fantastic performance out of you boys. We're really looking forward to seeing more out of you. What is it for you guys? Is the sky the limit? Are we looking for the #1 seed now with how things have gone these first 2 weeks?
I mean, in all these interviews, like, it's always going to be the same for me. I mean, we're just going to take it one game at a time. Our next set's Obey, so we're going to focus on that. And then anything past that doesn't really matter. So I'm just looking forward to that set. And I feel like everybody's meshing well. We're all getting along. We're all having fun, and we're just gonna keep going for that as well. So, yeah.
Good to hear. Good to have the SPL back too. Thanks so much, Aror. For the rest of you, we'll be back after the break with the set 2 of the day.